Good morning. It is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. This is the meeting of the Board of Supervisors for a consultation meeting. I guess we'll turn it over to staff to do a staff presentation on, I believe it's on TIF if I am correct.
Good morning. We have a slideshow presentation that Andrea and I are going to share with you that gives some background on the county's urban renewal program, which we informally call TIF for tax increment financing. The formal name is Urban Renewal Area and Urban Renewal Program. There are three components. If you want to go to the next slide, please. Of the county's urban renewal program. It is the urban renewal plan for the Story County urban renewal area, the chapter 8 of the Story County Code of Ordinances entitled Urban Renewal, and then our economic development process and policies. I want to go over a little bit background on each of these elements. Thank you, Bryce. First, the urban renewal plan. This is the document that when the Board of Supervisors adds projects to our TIF program or urban renewal program, they are formally recognized by the adoption of this program. It's adopted by resolution by the Board of Supervisors. We've had it since November of 2011, so this is by no means a new program. The county's had TIF in place since that point in time, and it is in line with Chapter 403 of the Code of Iowa. Do you want to go next one? My back's to you, so hard to know if you're switching it or not. The next part is Chapter 8 of the Code of Ordinances, which is entitled Urban Renewal Area. You see that little table in the right-hand corner, and sorry, it is little. You can see it in the Code of Ordinances online. This is the chapter in the adopted Code of Ordinances, in the Code of Ordinances that the Board of Supervisors adopts, that defines the parcels which the revenue is being captured for the county's TIF program. I want to just spend a little bit time on this slide because in years past, when the Board of Supervisors has had projects come through our urban renewal or TIF program, we haven't really touched on this because we haven't been adding any new parcels to our TIF district since 2011, I think, was the last time we did it. While we're not adding any parcels, unfortunately, we're going to remove some parcels. About 5 of our wind turbines are being decommissioned, and so we need to remove those and actually go through a process to amend Chapter 8 of the Code of Ordinances. So that is going to be part of the process this fall. What that does is decrease the revenue as well that we will be taking in, and those numbers will be presented at a later date to the board once we have a more clear understanding of what they may be. Thank you, Bryce. And then last, the economic development process and policies. So the first two were the program, the plan, the Code of Ordinances, the regulations. The board in 2012 decided at that point, we have all these elements, but we need to have a clearly defined process in place that helps us define really how we're going to accept applications, how we're going to divide these revenue sources, basically just how we're going to operationalize these monies that are coming in. So that's what this is. The Board of Supervisors in the spring of it every year looks at these policies and makes any recommended changes. And then if they do decide to open up programmatically for entities to apply for funding, they make those changes at that point as well. And now Andrew's going to come up and tell you a little bit of the process we've been following this point in time to now, and then the projects that we have.
Okay, so this spring, the Board of Supervisors did opt to open the application process for the urban renewal area. And so there's a few criteria as to how funding goes with TIF. So the first, it would be to fund eligible projects approved by the county's capital improvements plan, the CIP plan, which would otherwise be funded by general fund dollars. The second would be to fund county projects in lieu of increasing general obligation debt. The third is to fund eligible county projects that meet the goals of the strategic plan. And then the last is to assist other taxing entities in the urban renewal area with community improvement projects with certain guidelines in place. And we'll go over those on the next slide. So if the Board of Supervisors think that, an entity that submitted an application has other funding available, they could deny their application. And we do require a match for these applications. So it's expected that the applicant have at least 25% match of the total project costs. And then they are also required to attend a pre-application conference that happened earlier this year in this summer. That's outlined in the economic development processes and policies, but that occurred, and the taxing entities that submitted applications did all attend that pre-application conference. So there are a few different types of economic development projects that taxing entities can submit for funding consideration. What we have highlighted here, public land and trail improvement, that covers all 5 of the applications that we actually received this year. The other categories, transportation, infrastructure, communication and utility infrastructure, Main Street and town center revitalization, housing development and rehab or conversion. Those are other categories, but we did not actually get any applications that fit those categories this year. So the county will not provide any tax increment rebate, grant, loan to any, private entity. So they will not use TIF funds to participate in any direct disbursement to a private entity. So as I mentioned, we did receive 5 applications from the City of Collins, City of Zering, City of Slater, Story City, and then the City of Nevada as well. I won't go through this in too much detail, as these each city will be presenting on their application at a meeting with the Board of Supervisors. A few of them are doing that today, and then a few will be doing that next week. But if you look at the project descriptions in detail, all of them are for trailhead improvements, shelter improvements at parks. So they all fit that trail and park category. And all of them do meet or exceed the 25% in matching funds as well. So as far as the time frame, obviously today we're doing the consultation meeting. The first round of applicant presentations to the Board of Supervisors will be today at 10 a.m. And then the second round will be next week, September 17th. If the Board of Supervisors deem to fund any project, they will give direction to staff on which one or which of those to include on September 24th. And then staff will move forward with setting a public hearing to amend Chapter 8, which goes over, which parcels are included in the urban renewal area. At the beginning of October, the supervisors would approve the urban renewal area later in the month of October. And then there would be an ordinance, coming forward to amend Chapter 8 of the Code of Ordinances. And the first consideration of that would be October 22nd. Second would be October 29th. And then if third consideration isn't waived, that would be November 5th. So by November 5th, everything would be updated in the Code of Ordinances. And so if any of the applicants or any of the tax entities have questions, you can contact myself, Andrea Wagner, or Leanne Harder with questions. And so I will mostly turn it over, I think, to Leanne. If anybody in the audience has questions about the applications we received or the process moving forward, or if the supervisors have questions.
I will also note all the applications are online, and as part of the packet that was sent out, links to those applications were contained as well, or included as well. Are there any questions? I think we're going to need you probably come up here since we're recording it too.
Can you please state your name too?
Alan Canapus, and I'm a Warren Township.
Thank
I guess my question, not so much is where this money's going for, but for the TIF district itself, is why there's a TIF district in the rural area. And it's a hindrance to the fire department in Warren Township because you take the wind turbine monies. I believe you take half of it and put it in this TIF district. So the fire department doesn't get their full share of the TIF of the property tax money. And the Warren Township Fire Department could really use the money. And I object to where this money's coming from. And where it's going. I mean, if it's coming from the infrastructure out in the townships, why isn't it going back to the townships? It's going to cities to help them out. And it's hurting the townships because we can't get the full amount of tax money from the wind turbines for our fire department. And that's my biggest concern with this. I don't have any concerns about the people who's put the grants in for the money, but I don't believe you should be taking the money out of the township budget to benefit people in town. And I assume you can't TIF districts in cities, just out in the country. And, you know, cities will make TIF districts and help improve themselves. So you should be making improvements in the townships. But that's my biggest concern about I'd like to know how long this TIF district is in effect for. Is it forever? I mean, we'll never see the money. It's been going on for what, 13 years at least now? Will it end? So I don't know. That's all I can think of right now, but I think you need to really look into how you're funding this and taking it away from the townships. I mean, them wind turbines are setting out in the townships. The township better be getting all the tax money that the township deserves because the fire departments can need it and they need it worse than some of these projects up there. So.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question of Leanne?
Mhm.
Leanne, are townships eligible to apply for projects?
That's one thing that's rather unique about the county's adopted economic development process and policies. Who the applicant can be is not clearly defined, other than no private entity. So we have had like Colonesco School District. They applied, I think, 3 years in a row for funding and were awarded funding. Also funding has gone towards projects for a trail network for Story County Conservation. But yeah, I think township trustees could potentially apply if we would have an opinion that they could not, as well as, you know, the board, when you consider your policies that every spring can adopt revisions as well.
Could they apply for additional aid to a fire agency? Let's say they needed new apparatus and they didn't have the money in their budget. Could they apply through here?
I believe so.
Okay.
But they'd still have
But-
to meet the match. Is that
Right.
correct?
They'd
Yeah,
have to meet the
would
match.
be required.
But-
But again, that would be for starting fiscal year 27 would be the next round that we'd be considering, or
So
fiscal year.
what we would have to do would just be to notify that if we decided we wanted to notify the townships.
Correct.
We wouldn't have to change the ordinance or do anything like that because it doesn't say, it just says it can't be private.
Right.
So I think that might be a good idea.
Staff would probably seek some direction from the board to make sure that the goals and criteria that you have clearly align with that, and do
Okay.
some analysis to make sure that, you know, we don't unintentionally put a roadblock up.
Just knowing what the basic responsibilities financially are for township trustees, I would presume that most of something would come through a fire or an EMS
Mhm.
need. So I would be for us having that discussion and planning that for next year.
We will note that. I just do want to note that the the TIF expires fiscal year 38. We do have a sunset period. That's when all the turbines, as well as Vetter equipment, just west of town here is part of our county's TIF district. Those all will be off the TIF.
So 13 more years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for raising that issue.
Yep.
Okay.
Why can't you, in this TIF district, exclude the township's share, at least for the township shares, you know, we budget for the fire department and that, and they just exclude that and give that taxes to the township what they're due, the all 100% of the property tax for the, and whatever else, you know, I know there's some sheriff's roads and all that. I mean, I'm not up here to mention all that. I'm just here to kind of protect our fire department to get the money that they deserve. Why can't you just eliminate that part of the deal and give the tax that they're due? So that's, I would think you could be able to flexible on what money you take out of your taxes to pay for this thing, so.
I don't know if we can answer that question right now, but we can certainly look into that. I don't know what kind of financial gymnastics that might take, for one thing. And I don't know, I'd have to go back and, I think we need to look at that, but we've got 2 questions from you, which we'll look into. Thank you for coming.
Any other questions? I don't see anyone online. Okay, Leanne, do you have any other particular next steps? I know that we've got a couple presentations this afternoon, or this morning, sorry,
Mhm.
10.
Yeah, we have 3 of the applicants presenting at the Board of Supervisors this morning. The remaining 2 next week. And as Andrea shared, the time frame will be back in front of the Board of Supervisors for direction as to what you may want to fund through the urban renewal area plan, and then go forward and start changes to Chapter 8 as well.
Leanne, I'm not going to be here next Tuesday because I've got some all-day doctor appointments and it's been on my calendar for several months.
Okay.
So if you would get me the Collins and Ziering applications ahead of time so I can get you any questions
Sure,
before that, I'd appreciate it.
we can do that.
And we're not making any decisions. So I can get you my questions and I can look at the video.
Okay,
Thank
we
you.
can do that.
Okay, is there any other questions, comments? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Merkin,
Aye.
Basil,
Aye.
Hens, aye. We are adjourned.